Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this session, this second session of today, and out of the three. So we're kind of getting halfway there, still talking about the global challenge between climate and education and how to kind of find answers to that. We just had a very interesting presentations on how you can do that with schools, with green schools. And now we're going to talk about social ecological resilience. And social ecological resilience and climate and education, there is a clear link, but usually it's a bit unknown. Though, if I look a bit at the presentations that we had just before, they already kind of do something with this link. And I see Johan Slimbrook, who will be introducing the first, kind of nodding, yes, that's absolutely true. So this session, again, a couple of presentations from around the world. We will have people from Bolivia, from India, from Philippines, calling in to present a couple of their works around planetary health, about social ecological resilience, and having a couple of those presentations, but also, well, throughout, basically spanning the whole globe. Let's first start with a first, again, Mentimeter question. So menti.com 52270089. Now, just to get a bit an idea, an insight on how well aware or how well acquainted, familiar are you with the concept of social ecological resilience? If we talk about an unknown link, then well, we'll just have to see a bit if people here are kind of have a feeling about what it is, or that they say, no, I have absolutely no idea what this would be about. So we have a couple of people that say a bit. Most of the people say a bit. So that's what we see appearing here. So at least that kind of proves already now that there is value in the presentation that we will have the coming hour. So how familiar are you with the concept of social ecological resilience? And most of the people, I would say 3/4 of them, 2/3 of them, they say, well, a bit. And some say I know enough, but this is a bit what we have here. A second question that I would like to have. That was this first question. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce Johan Slimbrook, who is the coordinator of the Network for Social Ecological Resilience, also from Educate PE. Johan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will have a very, very short introduction. I have only 5 minutes, so it will be a very short introduction on the concepts of social ecological resilience, on the what, the why and the how of social ecological resilience. And first of all, some elements, what it's about. When we speak about social ecological resilience, we can have several elements. First of all, it is about resilience. And resilience, let's say a very clear but short definition, is the ability to cope with change. And we're talking about climate change today also, and to continue to develop. A second element, when we talk about social ecological resilience, it's about ecosystems. And ecosystems, let's say a definition here on the screen, a dynamic entity of plant, animal, and microorganism communities and their non-living environment interacting as a functional unit. And ecosystems are not something far away, forests where no one lives. It's about the daily life. In the previous presentations, they were talking about DRC, about a kind of ecosystems. Yesterday, we had, for instance, the example of Senegal, where we have an ecosystem, let's say, that is a more urban ecosystem. Third element is that from that ecosystems, we have a number of services, and the most known of the services are material services, let's say food or wood that you can get from ecosystems, but they are important for other parts. They are important for regulation, because, for instance, storage of water or preventing against erosion. And there is also a non-material part, let's say also the cultural, spiritual, even religious services that can be get from ecosystems. And then there is a very clear link between that and human well-being, because it's about nature's contribution to people. Local knowledge and let's say an indigenous knowledge is very important here. And also there is a link with the One Health approach or concept. Well, and together, of course, socio-ecological resilience is the ability to adapt or transform in the face of changes in the socio-ecological systems that we have. And the importance is to continue to support human well-being. Why is it important? Well, we start here from the concept of the planetary boundaries. Scientists can have developed a concept of 9 areas that are very important, that should not be crossed, but crossing these boundaries increase the risk of generating large-scale, abrupt and irreversible environmental changes. And we can already see that 6 of them exceed the limit. Climate change is, of course, one of the very important ones of that, and it has a major impact on resilience and thus the well-being of communities and including education. What is important if we work on that? The first of all, this is a representation of the SDGs by the Stockholm Resilience Center that emphasizes the importance of the biosphere SDGs, water, aquatic life, life on Earth, and climate, and that are important if you want to support the SDGs, let's say, on the level of society and economy. And what is important if you work here is that we have to work on 4 axes at the same time. There is no hierarchy, there's no order, let's say. They should be tackled at the same time. And it's about, of course, ecosystem services, the management and the access, let's say, to drinking water. It's about the conservation and restoration of ecosystems, but it's also about policy, rights and governance. And also the 4th one is about improved awareness, knowledge and skills. And here education enters, of course, but should be in a holistic approach together with also the work on the field and the work we do on policies and governance. And that makes that you have a link also between education and, let's say, climate justice. And that is already a bit, let's say, entering the question that was in the session before between, what is the link between education and policy that you should do. So, thank you. This was, as I said, a very short introduction. We have a 10-pager document that goes more into detail, and that will be available also with the documents of the Educate conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan. Before you leave, yes, please. Now, the title that we gave is that socio-ecological resilience, climate change and education. There is a clear but unknown link. What is the link is kind of clear here, but what is the unknown there?
I think that the unknown for me is that the idea to put the work you do on education and other organizations do, that it's not seen. It's you have organizations working on agriculture, on conservation, etc. They are not dealing with education, and probably you have a lot of education professionals that are not dealing with them. So things should be connected and should be done in a more holistic way.
Yeah, we will look at 3 of those examples on how they do that, or what they have to propose to do that. I'm very curious also to know from you, like, what could be done to kind of make that holistic approach work, basically, because that's what we're looking at it.
Let's hope that I have an answer to your question.
Okay, so that's that's the difficult answer. That's a difficult question, apparently. Very good. We have 3 presentations from 3 cases, basically, from via Don Bosco, who is a Belgian NGO that helps marginalized youth to also happen that they can follow education. We have Because Health, which is a Belgian health platform aiming at equitable access to health, basically. And then we have from the Université Libre de Bruxelles, we have in collaboration with the University in Lubumbashi, we have there also a project about medicinal gardens. We'll first start with via Don Bosco. Amélie Janssens, vous êtes oui, donc de via Don Bosco, avec Humberto Carnacho de la Bolivie, qui nous joint de la Bolivie.
We also have with us Humberto Camacho from Bolivia. Humberto will speak English, and Amélie, you will speak French. And I think that you have a presentation on socio-ecological resilience.
Le coordinateur du bureau de planification et développement en Bolivie, donc l'un de nos partenaires directs. Et donc moi, je travaille plutôt à Via Don Bosco à Woluwe, donc je gère le programme depuis Bruxelles, mais donc Humberto est vraiment sur le terrain. Donc voilà, donc merci pour les...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Johan has addressed resilience, and we would like to introduce our program and share with you why technical and vocational training can make a positive contribution in meeting those social ecological resilience challenges. Via Don Bosco has been active in education for 50 years. We do work in the fields of vocational and technical training. We are active in 14 countries, a partner of the Silesian world. Traditionally, we do have programs linked to the social and vocational integration of youngsters, and our program is, in a way, an exception to those traditional programs. The Andean program covers 3 countries, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru. This is a pilot program because it is the first time we have a regional approach, and it's the first time we have an approach linked to the environment. This is a thematic approach. So globally speaking, the environment is a cross-cutting issue, and here this is really at the heart of the Andean program. Our partners are historical partners. We have been collaborating with them for more than 20 years. We wanted to work with them, and this collaboration resulted from a reflection that we've had. We wanted to open the collaboration to those traditional partners who could suggest different but important and strategic themes. So that's the reason why we decided to work with those partners. I now would like to give the floor to Humberto, who will introduce the project.
Thank you very much, Amélie, and thank you to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here. And when we want to talk about this Andean program, we also wanted to start with the Andean Cosmovision, Mother Earth, Earth as a Mother, and those are the elements which are really the essence behind it, the way to see Earth, and it's a direct relation when it comes to talk about resilience, right? At the bottom of the list, this regeneration assurance, which has to happen. Of course, this is an ideal scenario, which is not really what is going on nowadays, especially in this region. So how can education help and build up on resilience? And then we want to have a look on our approach. We are looking at a target group of around 4,600 youth. Around 40% of them are girls between 15 and 29 years old. And we have this specific objective of youth studying in our vocational and training centers in Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador, integrating an environmental approach in their professional practices and contributing to a greener culture and to promotion of sustainable and resilience in the region. And we do this under a framework coming from the Salesian of Don Bosco congregation, the encyclical Laudato Si from Pope Francis, the SDGs, and the Don Bosco Green Alliance initiative. Our approach then has these four main pillars. We are working with pilot vocational training centers where we have this target group of youth studying some careers. We want to come up with some environmental guidelines plus mitigation plans based upon carbon footprint measurements. And we want to adapt the curricula with an environmental approach in each of those families of careers. And of course, we want to do this with a networking and an awareness creation perspective. The Andean region is a mega diverse region highly impacted by global climate change and environmental deterioration. At the same time, there's a lack of awareness about this, and youth really are claiming to have information and to know what is really going on. They are victim of environmental degradation. 27 million Latin American children live in areas that have had high environmental risks. And more than 63 million Latin American youth have been affected by climate events in the last 30 years. So this is really a very critical topic, but youth can really be a bridge to build a more resilient and sustainable society with a cross impact on labor market, the environment, and responding to the vocational training sector. In this way, we are perfectly aligned with the UNESCO UN EVOC priority areas, whose vision of promoting a future-oriented vocational training offer response to the demands of sustainable development and labor market, which perfectly fits with our global strategy as Via Don Bosco, promoting the transition towards green economies and sustainable societies. And at the same time, we are aligned with the ILO agenda for a just transition, which looks at the double impact of the work on the environment and consider that workers are capable agents to change and to find new paths towards sustainable development. So that's the link, direct link, and the correlation. Here we have some pictures, images of what youth are claiming in this part of the world, in Latin America. They don't want to have a half environment. They want to have a full environment. There's not a big planet to live on, but at the same time, they are already struggling right now with the impact which comes from extreme climate events, which have a direct effect on their daily activities when they attend school and when they can't really go anymore to school because of the other situations that are going on around health problems, economy. Of course, the situation is really struggling us to have a better view on this whole picture. But at the same time, we are already putting in place some good practices to protect the common house, La Casa Común, and those initiatives are already going on in the Salesian world in our vocational and training centers. And we want to come up together to have this networking approach and to really start implementing good practices and to greener our centers, our educational training centers in general. And we are taking this first step to look at what is going on with the vocational and training offer that we have for youth in the region in Latin America. So that's a presentation we have for you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Humberto. And a question that I have there, Amelie is already going away, but I have a question for you that came from one person online. What concretely are you doing in order for people to have them understand kind of an understandable approach? What are you doing in terms of what are you concretely doing so that they kind of so that it trains their resilience? What are the things that you are doing concretely on a day-to-day basis within this project?
So what we are doing is that we know those youth are going to be released to a global market, a local market, to be working specifically in some areas. We want them to have this approach when they consider in every step they do, in every initiative they take, to consider what's the impact on the environment, what kind of measures they could take into consideration, and really be actors of change, right? So we want to do this, of course, from the beginning of the educational process they are receiving, and we want to do this again in coordination with other agents, public, private actors, entities in the scenario. So it's like a change of mind to
So I hear two things. Is that correct that you started with, oh yeah, we're going outside of the school, we're going to markets, for example? Is that what I heard you say?
Right. That's right.
And then also having this change of mind, saying, okay, consider the impact of the environment right from the beginning. Great.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. I hear a lot with all the examples that we're seeing here today and yesterday. Getting out of the classroom seems to be one of the essential things to be doing. That is one of the things that we hear a lot within whatever approach you're choosing, whatever we see, getting out of the classroom, getting them involved with their surroundings, should be one of the things that at least I see coming back a lot. Great, thank you very much, Emily. Thank you very much, Umberto. We're now moving to Because Health, planetary health, from the Belgian Health Platform, aiming at an equitable access and good quality responsive health. We have Rudy in India and Jaker, I'm sorry, Jaker, in the Philippines. It must be very late in the Philippines, or not, Jaker?
Yeah, it's actually early evening. It's around 8:30 or 9.
Okay, early evening. So it means kind of 8, 9 o'clock, or is it more 11, 12?
No, it's around 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Okay, good. And Rudy from India, there you are kind of in the middle of your meal, I imagine.
No, not yet. After this, I'll have my meal.
Very good. You have a presentation ready on Because Health, on planetary health.
Yes.
And I have also 2 questions, Jaker. When you want me to put them in, tell me. So then I will ask the participants through the Mentimeter their responses to that.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. First of all, good afternoon, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to present ourselves as a Because Health Working Group, and also special thanks to Mahali. So today, Jaker and myself, we are presenting on advancing student and community-driven planetary health education towards a resilient and vibrant socio-ecological system. Before we begin, let's understand what we do and what are we. Jaker, can you take us through it?
Yes, thank you very much, Rudy. And hello everyone. And briefly, let me introduce what Because Health is and what the working group is actually doing. So Because Health is Because Health working group on planetary health is the central Belgian network on climate and global health promotion. We are providing meaningful participation to a diverse range of stakeholders, particularly coming from low and middle income countries. Also marginalized and underrepresented voices, including indigenous population. Primarily, we focus on climate emergency, transformation, and engaging global health stakeholders on how they can meaningfully contribute to climate justice and health equity. Reedy, maybe you can, also give us an idea what the group is hoping to achieve.
Yes. So we hope to achieve, as in everyone is like, we need to have a space for technical exchange and also have a to facilitate the joint initiatives. This is in line with the principles of Because Health to give social protection and equitable access of good quality healthcare services to all, and also building up strong, resilient, and sustainable health systems. Also, we are also engaged in promoting inclusion, transparency, and decoloniality, not to forget the basic human rights and being professional. Here, Ruben, we would like to ask a question to the audience through the Mentimeter. In their opinion, what do they mean by planetary health?
Yeah, what is for you the meaning of planetary health? You can go to the Mentimeter, it's there. Quelle est l'intention du concept de santé planétaire selon vous? So let's see what people would be answering to this in terms of question. Yeah, and for there are a couple of people that kind of came in, so this is how we. And if you want to, if you're close to someone, you can always discuss like, okay, what would the answer look like? What is it? The first answers, they always take a bit of time to pop in the answers, but the first would be global interconnected health. That's at least one thing. Interconnection of every animal, plant, and human. Sustainable health. A healthy planet is a condition for a healthy life. Responsible consumption of natural resources, staying within the planetary boundaries, the basis of everything. Whoa, that's kind of big. A happy planet, health of people, plant, animals, and the environment. An integrated vision of humans and planet and how they can support, how the planet can support those humans. The health of all living things, healthy environment, being able to co-live with all species, a link between quality of ecosystems and human health. Well, these are a couple of answers that we get, and there's still more coming in probably. Reedy, what does it say for you?
Thank you, Ruben. I think in a nutshell, if we bring this together, everyone has bring the definition, but to put it simply, Jacob, can you tell us about the definition?
Yeah.
What's that?
Going through those answers from the Mentimeter, we're quite surprised and also excited at the same time that a lot of people are now getting some sort of understanding of what planetary health is. But it's technically defined as the achievement of the highest available standard of health, well-being, and equity worldwide, focusing on giving much attention to human systems, at the same time Earth's natural system, and how they define, as what our early speaker said, planetary boundaries in which we can thrive better. So we wanted to simply put it on the slide there, planetary health as the health of human civilization and the state of the natural system on which it depends.
Yeah. Thank you. Another question to ask is, how does the planetary health changes impact our health? Jacob.
Yes. So that's also a very good question. So definitely breaching planetary boundaries has dire consequences. So we are actually seeing now the rapidly changing environmental conditions that we are experiencing. They alter the way we are exposed to a number of things around us, including infectious diseases and the natural hazards. Of course, this also brings out a domino effect in terms of like how it directly or indirectly affects our well-being. A recent example for this is, let's not go far, but like COVID-19, nutritional deficiencies in many countries, non-communicable diseases, and of course, let's not forget the natural hazards such as the heat waves that we have just experienced in Europe in the past several months, droughts, floods in many countries in Asia, fires and tropical storms here in the Philippines. They actually sort of like affect people indirectly through increased displacement and conflict, eventually leading to a number of health issues, including mental health. So having said that, let's zoom out a bit and look at how things are from a planetary health lens. So planetary health asserts that the scale of human enterprise has outstripped actually the resources of our planet. And these, overconsumption and a number of human activities are actually driving fundamental biophysical change at rates that we have not seen in existed in the history of mankind. So the one that is displayed in the slide right now is a diagram that tries to illustrate this cause and effect model by identifying important drivers that eventually show how it impacts on our health. That's on the circle. But what we wanted to emphasize here is that we can do something to change things. And we strongly feel that education can have a positive and amplifying effect on many of the mediating factors there. That includes governance, wealth, technology, and culture and behavior. And in fact, we particularly are very interested on how education can actually play a huge role at changing behavior. And this is where actually the planetary health education framework comes in. So we are introducing this framework which tries to capture what planetary health knowledge, values, and practice. And it's very useful in terms of how it offers a dynamic interpretation of the breadth of planetary health education. And it can also actually serve as a common language among us as learners and educators. And it actually proposes an active construction of knowledge based on experience realities that can be utilized as a planning tool in terms of designing our courses in our educational system, giving wider flexibility and recognition to a number of diverse learning pathways that could be available in many countries around the globe.
Thank you, Jacob. So going ahead with this, we did a major brainstorming and came up with 3 major reflections on how we take this educational approach of planetary health. Firstly is adopting a pluriverse approach to planetary health education, which is going beyond the medical education and practices, beyond going the existing knowledge, exploring the existing knowledge. Here, I would give an example of how, in ITM, they have introduced planetary health thinking in the short course of globalization and health. Also in Philippines, there have been introduced in undergraduate programs, courses of planetary health education. Secondly, it's important that we should be integrating an accountable and sustainable learning system, which time and again in the conference also have emerged, like we have to be quite reflexive. We have to reflect what we are doing and also have across the world learning, building up the cross-fertilization, building up the nidus, and having a strong student and faculty interaction to develop the curriculum. And thirdly, it's prioritizing inclusivity and participation and decision-making for any pedagogical intervention. This means that we have to talk about decolonizing planetary health and bringing decolonizing mindset, and also being inclusive of other curriculum towards bringing an agenda for the health, not for the people, but also for the planet.
Right, and I totally agree with you on that, Ridi. And this is a very interesting conversation right now that we wanted to strike also with this conference. And we actually wanted to pose another question. We can put it up also in the meter, Robin, but we don't want to take much time. We wanted to really understand later on what our audience and the participants are about this one.
Yeah, the question is there. And if you feel like at your schools it's kind of a bit narrow and that you don't know, you can take it in a broader way, kind of within society around you. Are students involved in curriculum design as far as you know, as what you're seeing, or are they not? So this is a question that we ask you through the Mentimeter. So don't take it too literally with at your schools. It can be a bit broader than that. Now, this is a question that you're asking, I guess, because of the third principle, I imagine, Jacob.
Right.
really? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much about having kind of implicating the students themselves. And I'm looking at people if they can access or not. It doesn't show any answers. Well, apparently there might be some, maybe internet connections. I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe can I just have a look in the room here? Who says yes? Ah, we have one yes here, Ridi and Jaka, in the room. So if that's the same as online, then probably we have little people that say students are involved in curriculum design. So lots of work to do there, I imagine, as far as you're concerned. Yes, and I see you nodding. Very good. Why the yes? Because it came from you. What do you know about that? Yes, because that's kind of like the good practice.
Sorry, yes, so I represent the Finnish National Education Authorities, and we have a very inclusive process of developing both the core national curricula in Finland, but also on a kind of community sectoral level. The local authorities and school authorities are also very inclusive in their way, and the schools. Was it
okay.
on?
Yeah, so that's fine. You don't have to. So the Finnish example, basically, yes. So from the Finns, maybe you should pay them a visit to ask them how they do it. That would kind of be great.
Yes.
Great. Maybe just a few questions, or at least a few comments that came up. You're focusing on health, and why not on well-being? If you talk about social ecological resilience, you could also talk about well-being. And why did you choose health as an approach? Ridi.
So, I mean, health is an important aspect. It's one of the aspect where people can look into it. When people think about health, not just as in now the term, if you medically define the term, it also includes, you know, how physically, mentally you are in a health. So planetary health also, like, if you are sick, then only you're able to understand a person's problems, or also you are going beyond just being well. So I think to make people understand that, you know, there is an urgency, there is affecting our health also, not just the well-being to keep it. So that's kind of a push that people would be more aware about, bringing planetary health in this approach.
So it kind of stresses the urgency. There was one reaction that said planetary health is a happy planet, but basically, according to you, planetary health is not yet a happy planet. That would be a well-being planet. I don't know if you can say that, but something like that. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Ridi and Jaka.
Yes. So if we can sort of like bring this forward, the discussion, we have 2 more slides, I think.
Yes.
So building from the last point that Ridi mentioned on inclusivity of planetary of educational approach, we are also trying to sort of like recognize that there is a bond, you know, a clear bond between humans and nature, and this actually fosters a new ethos that supports resilient and vibrant socio-ecological systems. This is highlighted in the interconnection between nature and a human, which is part of the domain of the planetary health education framework. So as they say, you know, the first law of ecology is that everything is connected to everything. And we also see that, you know, indigenous people and this human nature connectedness is actually embodied in the many worldviews and traditions of indigenous peoples and culture. And indigenous people, actually, we see that they demonstrate resilience in a number of ways, undergoing through large-scale environmental and societal changes that is actually happening in the environment right now. So we wanted to bridge this way, the ways between indigenous and Western knowledge paradigms, to understand better how we can, you know, advance education and practice. And so we are actually currently doing scoping review right now on indigenous knowledge systems, hoping to, map out the experiences of indigenous knowledge systems and how it can actually advance planetary health education.
Great. Thank you very much for your presentation, also including the indigenous part. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And this leads us to the last presentation here. J'aimerais inviter Julie Berthelier de l'Université libre de Bruxelles.
Let me introduce Julie Berthelier from the ULB, the Brussels Free University. So first, who are you, Julie? Well, who am I? I'm a project officer for ULB, for the University of Brussels, and we work together with the other French-speaking universities in Belgium. My role in this is to support the university community that wants to take part in projects of international solidarity. You would like today to tell us what you're doing with the ULB and the University of Lubumbashi. Indeed, the Lubumbashi University is one of the privileged partner universities working with ULB within the pharmacology faculty of ULB. We're going to talk about medicinal gardens because this is what you are doing. So how did it all start? What is the starting point? Well, students from the Lubumbashi University wanted to really trigger a reflection on how to develop the knowledge of traditional medicine with all the plants they had around them. So how can we use those plants and at the same time improve life and well-being on the campus with nice gardens, with fresh air and places where it is nice to live. So at the same time, improve life on the campus and study those plants. I suppose they had a discussion with their teachers, and afterwards, how did it all go? Were you contacted or? Yes, indeed, they started to discuss with professors and PhD students to know where this could be located on the campus, and afterwards, with the support of AUF and other authorities in the field of education, we had this reflection on how can it be implemented. What are we going to do, practically speaking? And what, how did you react when you heard about this project? When we saw this presentation earlier on Congo, you've seen that they really are very much motivated and they are involved in the project. And we cross all borders between university faculties and disciplines. We have this group of Belgian students working hand in hand with Congolese students to improve their daily life on the campus. This was really great. And what about the future challenges? Well, I wouldn't say that there are no challenges, but Once the garden will be there, how are we going to protect the garden, to keep it, maintaining it, and raise awareness of people living around the campus so that the campus would not be damaged? Because it's really in the middle of a place where people are really living, and they go alongside the campus. So again, we had to raise awareness of other students so that they really understand what this or that plant can bring as an added value, or how can we use that plant for medicinal uses. And okay, so many questions as to the practical implementation of the project. But what about your role? You are here in Brussels. I suppose they are in need for some money, but afterwards, what can you do? Do you really think that you could bring something to them? No, it's more the idea of a multidisciplinary approach. We worked with the students in Lubumbashi and also in Brussels, the students of the ULB. So we can really be involved in a project which is implemented in another country. It's mainly the pharmacy faculty. We also have students from the architecture faculty. So what did you do in practical terms? Again, it brings me back to the presentation of earlier on. We are there to propose active pedagogical tools, live classes. It means that we go outside, we leave the classroom and we go outside. Okay, that's what you have, that's the way in which you contributed. Yes, indeed, because they were not used to this type of pedagogical method. And we had students from Lubumbashi who came to Brussels to do their PhD. And what about the current stage of the project? We're just at the very beginning, so we are selecting the plants, we have put fences around the garden. And were you able to find a way to protect the garden? Not, as you said, you were a bit afraid of a deterioration of the garden. Yes, as I said, we have fences now around the garden, and we have students who are, between inverted brackets, they're watching over the garden. They are guardians of the garden. And what surprised you most? Well, I think it's the mobilization of students there, because all of a sudden you have hundreds of students who are there and really are motivated about the project. So this energy, this very positive energy, is something which is a source of inspiration. And why? Well, because they are aware of the richness of their environment and they want to protect it, the uniqueness of their environment. And did they have prior knowledge of traditional medicinal plants or not? It's very difficult to give you a very precise answer. It's a new course within this university. So the fact that they're now going to focus on medicinal plants is a new approach, a new discipline. And it's a willingness from the university to really valorize this traditional knowledge. And what is your message? What would you like to convey they should listen to them. They are the real change agents. Okay, we have to involve young people. That's what we had yesterday. Also, we have to make sure that students go outside of the classroom and really are motivated and involved. And most of the time, they already have the answer. Thank you very much. So we have AUF with the medicinal gardens, Michel and Samuel. Hello. Hello, everyone. You already heard my interview with Julie. Is there something that you would like to add? Something you say, okay, this is a major takeaway message. We discovered the Lubumbashi Garden project together with you because I would like to answer your question, but I cannot. So maybe what is the most surprising thing in this presentation? You're going to see that there are lots of words you use that are also implemented in our project. The fact of taking students out of the classroom, they are already building their own pathway towards protection of the environment. And we are also questioned by youngsters. We could think that the appropriate way to teach is from teacher to student, but we realize every day that it's sometimes the contrary that happens. Thank you for giving us the floor. We would like to thank the organizers of this conference and also AUF, which helped us a lot in this project. A few words. ISTAM is a school that produces engineers in agro development, and we give them tools to understand the complexity of today. It's education to sustainable development. Talking about sustainable development brings me back to what we said before, the resilience of socio-ecological systems. We all agree on the fact that our final goal is to preserve ecological balances while making it possible for people to live in a decent way, to live normally. This project is a pedagogical and scientific project, starting with bees. So this small insect, it's a sentinel of the environment. If you have more or less colonies, it's a sign, an indicator of the health of the environment. And from a social point of view as well, beekeeping, beekeepers, in front of shocks that can be climate or ecological shocks, are going to change their practices to adapt. So they're going to face the shock and show resilience. We started from three main ideas. First, produce scientific knowledge around sustainable development through site pilot cases in France and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then, how can we develop new education and teaching methods to sustainable development? And finally, how are we going to accompany local actors towards sustainable changes around the climate issue. And we go back again to this notion of socio-ecological resilience and preserving the balance between the preservation of the environment and at the same time meeting needs of the population, essential needs. So let me enter into the details of the pedagogical part. So what are we really doing within our school? First, knowledge of the field. We have to map all the challenges around beekeeping and deepen the understanding of the integration of bees within their environment. We have also to look at the dynamics between beekeepers and the other actors present in the field. And finally, give the floor to the different actors, players, and ask them how they envisage sustainable development. We have two groups of students, Master 1 level, and they worked on different territories in France. And then one student for her end of study master thesis went to Maine-et-Loire, which is another French region. The second part of this pedagogical chapter is building or co-building of serious challenges. So it's a capitalization of the knowledge which has been acquired in the different case studies. And we work together between students and researchers. So here we talk about Master 2 students, and they have built 4 games. 3 days. First, general framework and theoretical approach. Second, design of the game. And 3, finalization of the game, restitution, and collective assessment. At the end of this part, we have 4 pilot games. Then the pedagogical finalization. Based on those prototypes, we have developed 3 games related to sustainability based on the proposals made by the students. One on the interactions between bees and their environment, a second one on the relations between farmers and beekeepers, and finally, the last one on the integration of beekeeping activity within its socio-economic environment. For the last part, we designed a teaching module around sustainable development. We wanted students to become aware of the complexity of sustainability through a learning process based on experiences with the different interactions, environmental, economic, and social. Michel, myself, and a third researcher in agronomy, together we have developed a module for students of the license 2 level with a theoretical approach of sustainability, understanding of beekeeping, and then the series game number 1, interactions between bees and their environment. Well, students were playing and moderating the game. And finally, debriefing on learning processes and also a questionnaire to have a more specific feedback. Last thing, well, these pedagogical approaches are new, of course, for us as well, but we wanted to replicate them. And that's where we work together with the university in Bosnia-Herzegovina. This new method was shared with the colleagues there. Here you see on screen the first stage, the first step on 3 topics which are different. And in a second time, we move to the pedagogical dimension and the design of this series game. Thank you very much. Very nice, very clear presentation. We see the central part given to the students themselves. For you, it's also something new. So what did you discover regarding the design and the implementation of this program? When you start with this exercise, you know where you want to end, but you don't know about the way you're going to take. And we decided to build that way together with the students. Now, after 2 years, we have enriched our approach in this co-building, co-design process. That is what we consider to be the most important part. It's this co-design, co-building approach. So you are the experts, and finally you're working with the students themselves. So it maybe it can lead to a lot of questions. What it led to more humility, doubts, and also now we are sure that students themselves are improving their knowledge, and you take the necessary time for each step. To answer, you have to exchange with others, you have to brainstorm, so you have to take time. And all together, we move ahead stepwise in the right direction. It's something which requires a lot of questioning. You are experts, but you always question your work, and this is something which is, of course, very valuable. Let's have a look at our Mentimeter so that we can see the different answers. Okay, here we have it. You see, how do the different presentations connect to the holistic approach? Connection between cultures, links between the different sectors, participation, local knowledge, how to valorize local knowledge. Let's now move to the second question about young people. So last question before our break. I'll give you some time to answer to that question, which will be used at the beginning of our next section. So how can we include young people in this holistic approach? And I think we can now give some applause to those who made the presentations, but first answer to your question, because I can see that you're busy answering to the question. Okay. The first answer is ask them the question. Ask the question to the young people themselves. So you can see the answers. They are appearing on your screen. And of course, we'll come back with this question after the break in 15 minutes. Enjoy your break.